I want to talk about picking the hits, selecting new music for your radio station. If you are a new music or today's hits formatted radio station, then your audience primarily is from teens to about the age of 30. They are the type of people who are most into new music. When you're a teen, when you first get into music, everything is new. The oldies are new to you. By the time people reach around the age 30, they're not quite so much interested in new music anymore. By then, you're a full adult, you got a job, you got debt, you got kids yourself. Your brain doesn't have enough room for all the new music as it once did when you were out catting around on weekends. The question is, how do you pick new songs for your radio station when you know in your head that any one of those new songs could be a tune-out? That the possibility exists that as soon as you start to play that record, some of your listeners are going to switch to another radio station. The dreaded tune-out is not an imaginary thing. You look at how quickly people hit the skip button on Pandora within the first 10 seconds, often within the first 5 seconds. Back in the 1900s, when music radio began and came to maturity and we were all learning how to do it well, radio stations would typically add new songs and play them for 3 to 5 weeks and watch to see if they got any listener requests for those songs. If they did, continued to play the songs, maybe move them up in rotation. If the songs were not getting any calls from listeners, they were dropped, never to be heard again. Listener requests, though, were just the first barometer. The most important indicator was the dollar spent for that new record. Sharp music directors would be the ones that were calling the record stores every week in their town and asking what was selling. You'd call, you'd ask the clerks that you were talking to some other questions also. I was always interested in hearing if they were having customers ask for a new song that they did not have in stock at that time. What was that song? I wanted to know. Many times there were what we would call turntable hits. Turntable hit was one that got a lot of requests, requested fairly well, showed up on your request tabulations every day for several weeks, but did not result in sales. People liked the song enough, some of them liked it enough to call in to ask for it, play it again, but they were not going to spend their money to own it. That's the kind of record you dropped and would not be in your oldies list in coming years. Here's a story for you. The first record promotion man that I ever met was Mo Preskel. Mo was an independent record promoter, one of the first of that particular trade. As an indie promoter, he would sign one-off contracts to work new singles with different record labels. So if an indie promoter called on you at your radio station, he might have 5 or 7 different songs to talk to you about. If you did add the song to your playlist, then the record promoter would get a bonus. Now, I was a very young program director and music director at a radio station that was a trade chart reporter. We reported to the national trade chart publication, the Gavin Report, which was the first of the disc jockey radio music director oriented charts. It was different than Billboard. I'll talk about that some other time. Anyhow, I'm a reporting radio station, and if Mo can get me to play the record, then he can tell other radio stations that this reporter's playing it, so maybe you ought to play it. But Mo did more than that. He played 5 or 6 records for me that day. I don't remember, but I did add one of those songs to my playlist. And Mo told me that he was going to take 5 singles, 5 copies of that record, to the 3 record stores, each of the 3 record stores in my town, and just give them to him. And he would say, KOTN is going to be playing this, and here's some free stock for you, so you'll have some on hand for the first comers, and you can order some more stock for me, and here's my card. There you go. The radio and record businesses were very complementary, different but complementary. For the record company, of course, they just wanted to sell the product. For me, I wanted to know which product was selling, because that meant if I was playing that good product, I was more likely to build and maintain my radio audience. Things changed with the coming of the MP3 format and then music streaming. Today, people don't much phone radio stations to make requests anymore. Usually not anybody answering the request lines anyway. I don't remember the last time I heard a radio station promoting their request line phone number. And there aren't that many local record stores to call for sales reports. On the other hand, you can find tons more data about music consumption online than I ever had. If I were programming a hot hit station today, then every week, maybe every day, I'd be looking at the Spotify charts and the iTunes charts and the YouTube music and Amazon music charts. It's pretty easy to find out what's getting the buzz and what the most active music listeners are listening to. That doesn't necessarily mean you got to play everything that looks hot on the charts, especially when, say, a big star drops a new album and suddenly there are 5 or 7 songs from that star on the iTunes Top 20. What you got to do there is pick the 2 songs that you believe are the absolute best ones and play the heck out of those on your station. If it later turns out that, if you later learn that it was one of the other songs that was the standout record, the listener's most favorite, well, you just start pumping with that one, of course.